So let's have a look at the next page down, if you like. So this is organized hierarchically, and that's the journal manager. So let's click on that. Now what I've done over time, so we still have the information here, we have related documents, etc. And we can see this over here as well. So this has been placed in the game world because the journal kind of is in the game world. Although in reality that probably should be really under the avatar, because that's, well, I'm probably giving away some future stuff here, but when I created in my own game, I actually put it under linked to the avatar. So we have a journal manager here, and we have journal pickups and a journal actor under this. So let's have a look at what we've got. So description, the journal manager manages all aspects of the journal experience. So what we're doing here is we're separating out the experience. If you remember, we talked here, let's just go back to here. So the player experience part appears in the journal experience. So this is where we're really trying to record as accurately as we can the player's subjective response to the game. Okay, so of course this is our subjective response because we're analyzing it. We could do more research. We could ask other people about their subjective response if we wanted to get a more detailed idea here. But at the moment, just going through and analyzing myself, this is just my as the analyst's or game designer's subjective response. Sometimes you've got to trust your own response there. I guess that's part of the creative process. So that's what we're holding in our journal experience. Now the next level down is we're actually now trying to understand the structure. So the first one I've got here is what I've called a journal manager. So the structure here, so what we've got here, the diagrams below describe the structure of the journal experience, the relationships between the actors and the interactions. So we have a look at the key here. The actors, as I mentioned before, the game actors are, I guess, sort of individual components of the game, and they can be made up of other game actors, they can be made up of game elements and systems, etc. Player experience is an oval, and then we've got a relates with is just basically the line. This is happening within the game world. We have a journal experience here, and then the journal manager, which is the page that I'm on, sits here at the center. Now this is this diagram is a relationship diagram, so I've called this an actor relationship diagram. We have the journal manager there, and I've kind of stolen this, I guess, from entity relationship diagrams, which are used in database design. Why? Well, because we actually, often in games, we will have these types of relationships, and it's important to understand and know how they work, particularly if I'm giving this information to a design team. We need to convey as much information as possible. So these are all one-to-one relationships here, but you'll see when we look at the notes, we have one-to-many relationships as well. So we have the avatar off to the left-hand side here. So that's also an actor. I know that's circular. I'm trying to get consistency here. It's one of the main top-level actors, and the game world is also a main top-level actor. So avatar to journal manager in the game that we've just looked at, Amnesia Rebirth. It's a one-to-one relationship there. So there's only one avatar, one journal manager. We also have a note manager as well. So the note and the journal are connected in that when we find notes, it communicates with the journal manager to say, hey, we found that note. So we can now see it in the journal. The journal manager is like a conceptual actor, potentially. I'm not trying to describe code here. I'm trying to describe conceptual game structures, if you like. This could be a class in a game, within a game engine. You could write this up as a class, or it could be something that exists as part of a larger class. You might have a game manager class, and the journal manager exists within that. So from a practical point of view, programming point of view, it can be either of those. It doesn't really matter at this point in time. That's a decision that is made by the development team. We also have a journal actor down here, and there's a one-to-one relationship there between the journal manager and the journal actor. So in this respect, in this instance, we only have one journal. We have another diagram here. So the note manager communicates with the journal manager, telling it when note pickups have been found, so the journal manager will display them in the journal. So this is the actor interaction diagram. So the previous diagram is the relationship diagram, so telling us really how many game actors are involved in the relationship. This is the interaction diagram, which basically tells us where communication and interaction is occurring. So you can see here we've still got our actors, we've got our player experience. We have two different lines here. And in some ways, well, I guess in a game world, interacts with means, like for instance here we have the avatar actually interacts with the journal actor in the game itself. When you got communicates with, well, this is stuff that can happen in the background through events or through some sort of code or what have you. So we have the note manager here, which communicates with the journal manager, telling the journal manager that we found a particular note, and that should now be available in the journal itself. When the avatar views the journal actor, it communicates with the journal manager, and we can do things like opening and closing the journal, etc., changing pages, what have you. So the journal manager, a bit of a description here. Also that should be journal manager. That's actually a mistake. Manages all aspects of this player experience. Okay, I should really update that. My apologies. That should be the note manager. So let's have a look at the next one. The journal actor is the protagonist's sketchbook where she keeps notes and drawings she's done. The journal is the place where the player can read and look at unlocked notes and images. The journal is a core storytelling tool. Now don't forget, in the analysis here, I'm also thinking about how much information and what sort of information I need at this level. Because this is the sort of thing that you want to give to your development team. So there may be some repetition from, and this is basically taken from the previous level. We can go and have a look at the actor page as well from here if we want to. We also have the note manager, the journal manager. Note manager manages all aspects of the note player experience. So that should be note player experience. The avatar is the avatar in the game world. So we've also got the relationships here. So the note manager communicates with the journal manager when note actors are found. We've sort of talked about that. And we've talked about the different relationships between each of these. Story and aesthetics. So the journal actor is the vehicle for telling the story. So visual aesthetics could turn. I could put more information in here. The sound of the pages turning is what we hear from the oral side of things. Now, if we go down a level, so this is the top level. This is describing the structure. So coming back here. At this point in time, we're talking about the sort of mechanics side of things. Okay, the first page was the player experiences. This page and the lower pages are really talking about the game pattern, the game elements and the configuration, so the mechanics side of things. So if we go down to the next level, let's have a look at the journal pickup. Actually, so let's go to the journal actor, sorry. So we've got the details again. The journal, okay, so that's sort of repeated that from the previous one. I have added in here a bit more information, so there's more detail here around the actual journal itself. So this is where I've got these screenshots talking about the different parts of it. So if we click on that, we should see a larger screenshot. So we have our sections within the journal. We have some subsections within the journal, and then we have the text and images happening in this part of the journal. So we've got the journal has 5 main sections, has items, reminders, notes, memories, and a list. A number of these main sections also have hierarchical subsections within them, which we've just seen. Journal availability. The journal is with the protagonist from the very beginning. So in this game, yeah, okay, that's why I haven't actually sort of gone through and done the pickup one. In this game, it's actually there and it's available from the beginning. It doesn't need to be found or picked up. So the character is a competent artist and uses the journal for sketching and taking notes. This is important because, because that's not always the case. Text overlay. The journal has a readable text overlay, very similar to the note reader. So that's an important one, that you can overlay text because the text is sort of handwritten to make sure that people can read this. It's more readable. There is actually an overlay there. Filling in journal entries. There are two ways journal entries to become filled in. The first is when the player finds a note pickup and collects it. The second is where the player has an experience in the game world. The latter generally involves images or sketches from the game world. Journal sections. So we have items. So I'm just talking about the sections here. The items section displays items the player has collected within the game world. Some of these items can be used, such as matches for light and to light candles, torches, etc. The player can select an item with the mouse and an image, and description will appear in the left-hand section of the page. Items can be used and removed. So there's actually an items area there. We have some reminders. So these are just sections that the designers of the game included in here to make it conceptually easier to understand what was going on. So there's different types of things in different parts of these. So in the reminders section, these are actually reminders from the protagonist to herself, I think. I was pretty sure that was the case. The sections become available as the game progresses. So you can see here, let's click on that one. Initially, we've got reminders and memories here. As you go through the game, the rest of them actually start appearing when you find other elements that end up in that part of it. So subsections, which are only available for certain sections. The game offers hints on what to do next in red at the top of the journal. So you can see a hint there. The game offers hints on what to do next. Oh, sorry, I just said that. Controls are listed when available, so E to toggle text. You can see that down there. An overlay of readable text is also available, which I've also mentioned. The notes section of the journal is a record of various notes in the player has found in the game world. So this is actually the main one that I'm interested in. So this is where the notes go. The other parts, from a design point of view, I don't really need this part. I don't necessarily need this part. Maybe I'll decide I want to use it, but I don't really need it. It's just the notes section I'm looking for. And there's also a memory section here as well, a little bit different. All the memories are available, but those that have not been found in the game are blurred out. So that's an interesting way of doing it. So this is a blurred memory. Again, these are storytelling, a way of telling the story. So you get a little bit of a hint, but until you actually go through the part that where this is revealed, you don't actually get to see the full image. Annalise is the final section, so the name of the protagonist's daughter. She is significant to the story and has an entire section to herself. So representation here, one of the things we're interested in, because this is sort of where we need to sort of look at how things work. The visual representation, the journal looks like a 1930s style ring-bound artist's journal. The paper of the pages appears to be a heavy gauge watercolor paper. The paper is off-white and smudged. It looks well worn but taken care of. There's a yellow pencil attached to the left side. The notes are usually handwritten. A readable text overlay can be brought up to make the text easier for the player to read. So the oral representation, the paper sound on pickup. So there is a paper sound when you pick it up and put it away. Relationships and interactions. We have looked at these before. I do tend to include these on the different pages again for the development team, so they don't have to swap back and forward. So you can see these are the relationships we looked at previously. So the actor, relationship, player avatar, and journal. Agency, the journal is available to the player at any time. The player controls when to bring it out and put it away with the keyboard key. Navigation is through using the mouse cursor to select sections and subsections. The player moves to different pages with a section or subsection by clicking on the arrows at the bottom outer corner of the journal page. Appropriate instructions appear on the screen telling the player how to interact with the journal. Psychological emotional relationship, see the journal experience, so that's over there. Goals and challenges in this relationship. So there are no explicit goals or challenges relating to the journal. Implied goals might be the understanding of text and images and how they relate to the story and the puzzles. Actor relationship, so the journal actor and the journal manager. The journal manager tells the journal actor what pages have been found. It can be displayed at any point in the game. Story and aesthetics. So we don't have anything for psychological emotional relationship or the goals and challenges. Story and aesthetics. So the text of the notes tells the story. These are the main storytelling tools in the game. I think I have doubled up there. Anyway, we've gone... yeah, so we've gone through and have a look. We've already talked about this. So we're kind of doubling up in the visual representation. That doesn't necessarily need to be twice, but it does relate to the visual aesthetics as well. And the oral aesthetics, a sound of taking the journal out and putting it away, paper moving and pages are turned. So that is the journal player experience. And you can see how we go from the journal experience section here, where we are really focusing on the personal reaction, the internal reaction of the player. So we're talking about the different emotional, psychological, mental, meaningful, and structural. And then we go through and we're linking that up. The whole idea is that we're linking that up with the mechanics and dynamics, if you like, if we're using the MDA model. And again, the whole idea is that this can be given to a team of developers. They can access this, so they can access the different levels here as well, so they can see the different elements. And they can go right down to the detail section. So if you're developing this, the whole idea is that if you have an artist and a programmer or team looking at developing this, there's enough information here from a development point of view. So I'll leave that here, and we'll come back and have a look at which is the one we haven't done, the note experience as well, and see how that looks.